Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have another special guest on, Kim Kaupe, who is the co-founder and the CEO of the Superfan company. So Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Now, Kim, before we jump into the Superfan company, tell us a little bit about, your background and some of the exciting things that you have on LinkedIn about your background.
Yeah, so I grew up in South Florida. I went to the University of Florida, so go Gators. And I graduated from there in 2008 and had big dreams of working at a magazine. That was always my love growing up. I loved magazines. I read all 17, Teen Vogue, Bop, like all the magazines. And so it was my big dream to work at a magazine, and all the largest publishers were in New York. So I packed my bags and moved to New York and got a job at a magazine. So I was living my sort of dream life that, if you've ever seen The Devil Wears Prada, closely resembled that film. And I worked at Condé Nast for about 2.5 years before I left Condé Nast to go to an ad agency. Got there, hated it, thought I was going to be working at like a Mad Men, Don Draper, drink whiskey at 4 o'clock kind of place. And that was not where I was. And within 90 days of starting that new job, fate, the universe, God, whoever you want to call it, put me in the path with my co-founder. And I started the company in January of 2011 with her. And it's been a wild 9-year ride ever since.
Now, a little bit about that, moving from South Florida to New York. How much of a culture shock was that?
Oh, it was a total culture shock. And also I will say this until the day I die, there is no better place to be in your early 20s than New York City. There is just so much fun, so many people. You're out late at bars, and you're finding free pizza, and you're finding student discounts to go to plays, and just I think that there's such opportunity because you also just don't even realize what you're missing out on. When you're in your 20s and you're eating free dollar pizzas and, finding cheap beer, it's, you think you're living the greatest city in the world, and you are, because there's just so many things. And there's a lot of free things to do in New York that I think when you're that young and, you don't have money and you're not at a well-paying job, you get creative and you find all these really interesting things to do. So I look back on that time very fondly, and I'm like, oh, I would go back. I would go back in a second. But it's a really fun place to be in your 20s.
Awesome, awesome. So now, how much of, the environment of being in that atmosphere, helped you, or I guess you say help you make some of those early steps of starting Superfan?
I've always told people that you don't get to pick New York. New York either loves you or it hates you. It chews you up or it spits you out. I have friends, there was a lot of us that moved to New York all together, and some of them lasted 6 months, some of them lasted 6 years. So, people don't necessarily love it. My dad, who is born and raised in South Florida, loves nature, loves the ocean and the air. He's not a huge New York fan because it is a lot of concrete and it's a lot of buildings and there's not that much nature. So if you're a nature lover, New York's probably not your place. But the fast pace vibe of the city and the energy, yeah, it is very much the city that never sleeps, and it's go, go, go. And if you're more of a laid back, kind of go with the flow type of person, you might say, this place is exhausting, I don't like it. But for me, I responded really well to it. And I think that there's a reason why there are so many entrepreneurs in New York, is because it's the city that never sleeps. And there is that sort of hustle vibe or mentality or culture that you feed off of. And I think it's a place that really values community. And so the entrepreneur community is really strong in New York. Although I know that there are really strong entrepreneurship communities everywhere, I think New York has a really robust one.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about Superfan. So what is Superfan about?
So we are a fan engagement agency. So, and the heart of it, what we do is we create products, like physical, products that people can purchase and that people can get as part of packages that they might have purchased, mainly working in the music space. So an example of that might be you buy a ticket to a music festival. What does your festival ticket package come in? Or you want to go to a concert and you decide to get an upgraded package. What does that upgraded package consist of? So we're really trying to figure out, how do we make sure that the fans feel surprised and delighted and excited. We do a lot of limited edition drops. So if anybody is familiar with like the hype beast model or any sort of Supreme, where they say, okay, we're only going to make 1,000 Yeezy shoes, and if you're one of the 1,000 people, great, and if you're not, too bad, sucks for you. So we do a lot of that with artists and talent, saying, okay, we're going to do these limited edition X, and we're only going to make 2,500 of them. And if you get one, you got one. And if you don't, you don't. So really working at making fun collectibles and things that fans are going to be like, oh my goodness, I have to have that. It's one of, 2,500 and I have to get my hands on one.
Gotcha. Now, I guess one of the things that I hear a lot of entrepreneurs kind of say that they had a challenge with early on was figuring out, I guess, getting comfortable with the niche that they were going to go down. Was that a challenge for you of figuring out like, hey, this is going to be our niche. We're going to focus on this?
Yeah, because I think most marketing agencies, if you read any marketing blog, more is better, right? We're going to touch more people, more fans on Facebook, more Instagram likes, more followers. It's like this more and more and more and more and more culture. And so what we really sit down and always ask is more better? And there's, a couple really famous books. Seth Godin did a whole article on this of, I think it was either 100 true fans or 1,000 true fans. I forget what the number was, but it was essentially saying that if you have 100 true fans, 100 fans that will pay, let's call it $100 of something that you are selling, that's $100,000. But if you have 100,000 fans who will only pay 1 penny, then great, you have 100,000 fans, but you have no money, because they like you, but not enough to like put money down or rave about you. And so we really thought about, is more better? And maybe it's not better. And maybe instead we should look at these smaller superset of super fans, these really passionate fans who say, we don't just kind of like Taylor Swift. We don't just kind of like Beyonce. We don't just kind of like the Rolling Stones or Paul McCartney or Oprah or the New York Mets. We love them. We love the New York Mets. We love Oprah. We would buy things that they have for sale and saying, why don't we focus on those people? And sort of the 80-20 rule, forget about the 80% that just kind of like you. Let's focus on the 20% that love you, and let's work on making them happy and surprised and delighted and creating cool things for them, because they're the ones that are actually going to go out and purchase it and evangelize your stuff.
Hmm. And I will say this may sound a little biased because my background is accounting and finance, and I love numbers. I always think anyone who can explain a concept and can walk you through numbers, they know what they're talking about. So Kim, thank you.
Well, it's helpful, right? Like, I feel like a lot of times people just think, oh, that person has 1 million followers on Instagram, they must be rich. And I say, I know people who have 2,000 Instagram followers, they're making millions of dollars, because, it's amazing if you have like a core group of people, good for you. They'll buy from you.
Mhm. Awesome. So now when it came down to, your experience on getting the word out about Superfan and like kind of that business development side, what was that process like for you?
We really, and we still do this, by the way, we really doubled down on customer service and word of mouth. So I have other friends who are founders, and they'll swear by Facebook ads, or they'll swear by ClickFunnels, or they'll swear by partnerships. And those are all great. And depending on what type of company you have, I should preface, we're a B2B company. So I have other friends who are founders and they're B2C. They're selling socks and peanut butter and lip gloss. Yeah, they can run $2,000 worth of Instagram ads and make $10,000. Great. We're B2B. We're business to business. So we don't sell to regular consumers. We're looking for brand managers. We're looking for artist managers. Those are the people that are going to hire us. So, ads on Facebook or ads on Instagram, that doesn't really work for us because they're still not getting to our unique customer. For us, it's really about word of mouth. So the way we decided we were going to go all in on this concept is really to super serve our client base. And when we got done with a project, we asked a really simple question that a lot of people don't ask, which is, know anyone? Do you have a friend that also might think that this is interesting? And you would be shocked by simply asking the question, how many people were like, you know what, now that you mention it, you should meet Terry, you should meet Bob, you should meet Tiffany. And, all of a sudden they've introduced you to 3 people who might be a fit and might not, but now those 3 more people know about you, and so on and so on and so on. And so I think that people forget to ask the question. I think a lot of times people just say, okay, well, we finished that project, on to the next. And it's like, no, that person is actually your best sales tool, because they're going to go out for the next 6 months going, you know what? They were really nice. You should work with them. They're kind of like your walking, talking billboard. So I think that sort of customer service and attention to your clients is necessary. And honestly, that's how we've grown the business. People ask me all the time, like, what's the trick? How did you get to work with this person? And I'm like, I wish I could tell you. It is honestly shocking to me. And I tell the story because I think it's so funny, but if you have your phone, I'm one of those people, I don't answer numbers I don't know. I don't know who you are. You're probably a telemarketer. I let it go to voicemail. And if you leave a voicemail and okay, it's a friend who changed their number, fine, I'll call you back. But I let a lot of things just go to voicemail because I don't know who they are. And so this was like 3 or 4 years ago. I'm at home. It's around Christmas. It's like December 21st or something. And my phone rings and it's a number I don't recognize. And 99 times I would let it go to voicemail. But for some, maybe I was in the Christmas spirit. I was feeling like jolly Santa Claus vibes. I was like, you know what? Let me pick up this call. Let me just pick it up. So I pick it up and I'm like, hello. And the voice on the other end says, hi, is this Kim? I'm going, okay, they know my name. Who? I'm like, yes, hi, can I help you? Who is this? And he says, oh, I'm Josh. I got your information from Mary J. Blige's team, or no, from Logic's team, who's an amazing rapper who just announced his retirement. Very sad. He's like, I got your information from Logic's team, and I manage Macklemore and would love to talk to you about something that we're working on coming up in January. I almost dropped the phone. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, they gave me your cell phone number. They said to just like, you were super nice and just hit you up and call you. And it was like walking in the door. Like, I didn't have to go search out that person. They literally called me. And I slipped up and said Mary J. Blige because the same thing happened with her team. They had gotten our number from Justin Bieber's team. When I almost dropped the phone when they were like, it's Mary J. Blige's team. It was like, what? And so, people who want to refer you, and listen, we do that all the time, right? I'm such a stickler for telling my friends, here's a new app I downloaded. Here's a restaurant you have to try. Oh, I just saw this new Netflix show. You got to watch this Netflix show. It's like, people love talking about things that they love, use, whatever. So if you can get your company into that set, it's like the best marketing you could ever ask for.
And I completely agree, because I know for myself, is being a CPA and doing FP&A consulting for businesses where for someone to trust you with their finances and that part of their business, I mean, it's usually going to come through a referral. I mean, there aren't too many like Facebook ads you're going to throw up and people are like, oh yeah, I'll just let that person see all of my personal financial business.
Exactly. And it's your, your sort of main focus is how do I keep these people happy, at the end of the day. And it doesn't take much, but it's something you have to think about.
Mhm. Awesome, awesome. So, where can people find you online or follow you on social media to see the awesome things going on with Superfan?
So I'm on LinkedIn, professional networking site. I also spend probably way too much time, if you ask my mother, on Instagram and Instagram stories, but I think they're hilarious and I think they're so fun. And so I don't care. I'm going to be on them. And so those are the two platforms that I'm on the most, but you can also go to my website, kimkalp.com. I have an email blast that I send out every 2 weeks that are insights and tips and tricks that I've learned from other people along the way. And so those are probably the best ways to stay in touch.
Awesome, awesome. Now, before we started recording, we were talking about Coffee with Kim. Tell us a little bit about that and how can people watch it?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Coffee with Kim is every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, live on both LinkedIn and I'm going to start streaming it to Facebook. So both platforms. But it's really exciting and it's sort of a fun project that I started. And it basically started because I realized that I was going on these coffee meetings with really, really fantastic people. I mean, founders and managers, and I was getting all these sort of aha insights from them. And I would go and meet my friends for drinks or dinner, and I'd say, you know what? I was sitting with this guy and he said this thing, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, wow, that's like really helpful. Thank you. Or, oh, my friend recommended this podcast and he's the editor in chief of Entrepreneur. So I kind of feel like he knows what he's talking about. And then my friends would all download the podcast and we would all love it. And so I realized, wow, like this is really unique. How can I do this? And so I started just making videos on LinkedIn so that it wasn't just to my friends at a brunch or dinner. And then I realized after about a year, I was like, you know what's really hard is we're having these great conversations in the comments and I'm going in and answering people, but it's not in real time. And not only that, they're asking follow-up questions. They're like, oh, super interesting that he recommended that. Like, what would he think about this? And then I was playing telephone, like calling the people being like, this person asked a really great question. What do you think? And then responding. And I was like, I'm not a secretary. What am I doing? And so then I just decided, wait a second, I've got this all wrong. I have to invite people to the coffee meeting with us, that they have to be with us at the coffee meeting so
Wow.
that we can ask all the questions in real time. So now the coffee meetings that I would normally have, like you and I are having right now on Zoom or, House Party or any of these virtual apps, I'm just inviting hundreds of all of our friends to join. And that way, if they hear something that I don't hear or somebody wants to ask a question, it's like, boom, it's literally like we're all having coffee together. And
Wow.
it's so fun. And it's such a great community from all over the world, which is also really interesting and awesome. I've been able to connect and have people meet every week that are from India or Ireland or, California, just all over the place. So it's super fun. You can tell I love it. It's like my favorite meeting of the whole week.
Awesome. And on what day of the week should they expect it?
Every Wednesday, wacky Wednesday, hump day, at 1 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully that hits enough like lunch breaks or like mid-afternoon, mid-morning coffee breaks. It's recorded. So if you don't catch it live, you can watch it afterwards. And I try within like 24 hours, although sometimes it takes longer, to write like cheat sheet notes. So kind of like the top hits, and I post those to my website, and I also repost those under the live stream, so you can kind of like cheat if you need to.
Awesome. Now, I know we are just about at time. Do you have time for one more question?
Yes, of course.
All right. The last question is a question I like to ask every guest that comes on is when you think about, your journey as an entrepreneur, what are two pieces of advice that you would share with other entrepreneurs?
I have so much advice. Don't do it. No, that's not good advice. I would say advice for entrepreneurs, two things. One, get as much help as humanly possible. I am a big proponent of you are not unique. You are not a snowflake. Your problems are not unique. Other people have had the problems that you have had. So instead of reinventing the wheel, go copy their homework. They've already done it. And so I try to give out, and that's like Coffee with Kim. And I also have an entire course on LinkedIn called Entrepreneurship Foundations. It's like an hour worth of content of all the junk that I got wrong and cost me tens of thousands of dollars. It's like, don't do that. Here's the homework, all the answers, just copy them. Then you don't have to spend, a $40,000 mistake like I've done in the past. So copy as much homework as humanly possible. Don't try to reinvent the wheel and solve your problems yourself. It's not worth it. And the other advice that I would give to entrepreneurs, and this was a huge learning lesson for me, is that you chose entrepreneurship. Your friends and your family did not. No, they did not sign up for that. You signed up for that. But the what most people don't realize is you are part of a solar system of your friends and family. So the fact that you signed up for the late nights and the stress and the, financial commitment, great, good for you. But everybody else has to deal with that. So you're going to miss birthday parties. You're going to be late for dinner. You are going to be irritable. There are going to be days that are really tough. And so you have to kind of prepare your solar system. I wish I had sat down with friends and family before I really started and said, like, I'm probably going to be kind of a crappy friend for a couple of months. And, and I started doing, probably too late, but I started doing like a rating system because I was like, I can't come to every event. It's just not going to happen. I have too much work. It's too stressful. So I need a rating system of 1 to 5. And 5 is like, this is super important. This is like a wedding, or like a funeral. Like you kind of got to be there. And a 1 is like, we're watching Real Housewives with wine. Very skippable, not memorable. And so I would ask my friends and family, like when they would invite me to something or to do something, I'd be like, that's going to be really hard for me, but are we at a 1 or a 5? Because if you're telling me it's a 5 or a 4 and you really need me there, I'm there. I am there for you. I will always be there for you. Like I want to be there when it counts. But if it's like a 2, if it's like you want to go to the Bronx Zoo on a Sunday, I'm going to have to gracefully bow out. And so I think that most entrepreneurs, we're so consumed by our business and our idea and everything that's going on. We're kind of forgetful sometimes about other people. So that would be my biggest advice for entrepreneurs who are just starting is, oh my gosh, your friends and your family, they're going to kind of get the blowback of this. And if you don't prepare them for it, it can be shocking when all of a sudden you're missing these things that you used to never miss before.
Gotcha. Well, Kim, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your story, talking about Superfan, and also just sharing the wisdom and the insight. We really appreciate having you on. And everyone that's watching and listening, be sure to follow Kim on LinkedIn. And as she said, she spends time on Instagram, so definitely check her out there. And check out the Coffee with Kim. I love the concept. I love the idea. So Kim, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to click the subscribe button and follow us on all social media platforms as the Business Talk Library.